Whoa, hey everyone, and welcome back to Nerd Central. I'm your host Noah Ferguson, and there's some fun stuff lined up for you guys today, so let's not waste any time yapping and hop right into the news. First, we found out that the once lost pilot of Family Guy has been brought back to the public. The pilot shows what Seth MacFarlane's show used to look like compared to the new show design and with the characters we know and love. The pilot previously was lost to time, with the only few minutes being available on a Blu-ray DVD set. According to the Express Tribune, internet sleuths have uncovered the pilot from the portfolio website of animator Robert Paulson. Honestly, it's pretty cool to see where the show started and to see how it has evolved over time. Next up, we have some fun news about a sequel for the hit Disney movie Coco. Disney CEO Bob Iger has confirmed that Coco 2 is in development, and the original director is confirmed to return. So far, all we know besides the director's return is that the movie has been said to be released in the far year of 2029. I'm sure fans are excited to see Miguel and his family again in what is sure to be a phenomenal sequel. Now roll with me, folks, because we're going to take a 180 in the tone of movies, and I'm talking about the new Steamboat Willie horror movie. Screamboat is the name, and as the idea implies, it's a horror and slasher movie based on the black and white character Steamboat Willie. The movie releases on April 2nd, and honestly, it doesn't look awful. Just feels weird to see a killer mouse guy made out of such a friendly character from the past. And to wrap up today's news, we have a fresh look at the movie trailer for Jujutsu Kaisen. But it's not another season or something original. Instead, it's a rehashing of the hidden inventory arc, putting all the episodes together into one long movie. The arc retells the past of the main characters Satoru Gojo and Suguru Gato, and where they came from in a beautiful storytelling display. The movie is slated to release May 30th of this year, so be sure to watch it to relive the past with them. And guys, we are done, but just with the news. There were a lot of fun things to talk about, but now let's see some other fun things, like the cruise packs.
Welcome back to Hero to Zero. I'm Taden Hensley, and we talked about a lot of heroes on this show, but I think it's time that we talk about the villains. So for this episode, welcome to the villain edition of Hero to Zero. So, who's going to be the villain of the week? Well, it's going to be Stiltman, who uses an armored battle suit that gives him the ability to extend his hydraulic stilt legs up to 290 feet. Stiltman, aka Wilbur Day, was a scientist who worked for Carl Caxton, who invented a hydraulic ram device that Wilbur would steal. Then he would use Caxton's design to build a pair of metal telescopic legs that would allow him to tower over buildings and would start robbing banks from high stories, and it would give himself the name Stiltman. He would fight off against many known heroes like Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America, and Daredevil, who Stiltman would actually defeat for the first time. But Daredevil would eventually stop him after Stiltman was struck by a shrinking ray and would be sent to the microverse until months later, where he would return. Now, Stiltman is very easy to beat, as every time his suit gets broken, he rebuilds it to make it even stronger. But even then, he's still easy to beat, and why I'm even talking about him to begin with, because all you have to do is cut his legs off. And when you live in a universe full of superheroes, well, that's not that hard to do. For example, Stiltman would team up with the villains Owl and Gladiator in an attempt to take over operations from the Kingpin, but was defeated by Spider-Man and Daredevil. Or when he tried to break into Stark Industries and was easily taken down by Iron Man, but those are just a few examples. I feel like Stiltman could be a better villain if instead of making himself tall with a suit, he can just make himself bigger. I mean, he's smart enough to make a suit, so why can't he just make a machine that makes himself big? I get that he's supposed to be a silly villain, but if you really wanted to be silly about it, just have him be a normal guy on normal stilts and, like what you see at amusement parks or circuses, but still be evil at the end of the day. So, that's all I have to say about Stiltman, as his life would eventually come to the end when he was killed by the Punisher, but would come back to life years later after the villain Jackal would bring him back to life with a bunch of other dead Spider-Man villains to help Spider-Man become evil. And also, there will be a female version of Stiltman named Lady Stiltman. Yeah, how creative does that sound? But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed me talking about a villain for once. But that's all the time I got. I'm Taden Hensley, and this has been the villain version of Hero to Zero.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Reels and Beats, your source for all things movie and music news entertainment. I'm your host Noah Ferguson. It's time for lucky episode number 7. Let's not waste any time and let's hop right into the news. In recent live action news, people are unhappy with the new Snow White. It all started with the casting choice and overall presentation of the movie. With the selection of West Side Story and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes star Rachel Zegler, a Latina actress portraying the princess. Debates online and racial representation erupted, leaving viewers in a diverse state. On top of that, Zegler commented on the classic 1937 animated version, saying it's outdated and needs some modernization, resulting in more controversy and criticism from fans, who expressed that it strays away from the traditional story. The thing is, Zegler isn't the only one receiving controversy for this film. Her co-star Gal Gadot, who portrays the evil queen, was also caught up in the mix. Both actresses experience on-set tension due to their publicly opposing political views regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict, with various groups calling for boycotts impacting the film's production and overall promotional activities. Another reason why people were discouraged from seeing the film was the portrayal of the Seven Dwarfs. Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage, who appeared on WTF with Mac Maron, stating, "You're progressive in one way," insinuating the casting of Zegler, but then you're still making that f***ing backwards story about seven dwarves living in a cave together. Disney responded by stating that to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach, adding they've consulted members with dwarfism within the community. All good, right? Well, not exactly. Eventually it was decided to fully animate the characters, and they were voiced by non-dwarf actors, leaving people with dwarfism feeling that it stripped away job opportunities and potential roles. Overall, Snow White reached over $87 million in its opening weekend globally, which can be seen as poor due to a budget of over $250 million, and within distribution and marketing, they'll need to double that to break even. Aside from the lackluster acting, political views, and overall press, at the end of the day, this is just a Disney kids princess movie. So if you're posting online saying opening nights were empty, maybe it's past their bedtime and moms and dads need to get up for work the next day. But hey, I'm sure Disney and the theaters appreciate your money nonetheless. Alright guys, that's all the news I have for today. Down in the comments, let me know if you're getting annoyed with all these live action remakes. I've been your host Noah Ferguson of Reels and Beats, your source for all things movie and music news entertainment. I'll see you guys next week.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet, producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Welcome to Tales of the Dice Roll, a story-driven role-playing show. This season, we're in Downpour, Nebraska at Robert Olmsted High. Here, you'll have the opportunity to explore your interests.
Wait, what's that?
Build connections with your peers. Something to off. Strike out on your own.
Do you think this is fun?
And become an overall well-rounded you. Someone please! So join us Saturdays at noon to learn more about our tactics.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Lore. My name is Joe Huber, and today we'll discuss who would win between Anakin Skywalker and Starkiller. For those who don't know who Starkiller is, his actual name is Galen Merrick, and he was a video game character that played the role of Darth Vader's apprentice in the video game The Force Unleashed. This character is a fan favorite across the Star Wars fanbase because of his immense power in the Force. Now this video is going to be a bit convoluted because I believe that there are several different outcomes to this battle. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One. He had the potential to be the most powerful Jedi in existence until his ultimate demise at the hands of his former master Obi-Wan Kenobi, who chopped him up on Mustafar and left him to burn alive. Now if Anakin hadn't lost to Obi-Wan, how powerful would he have become? Well, he would become the most powerful being in the galaxy forever. I mean, he was the Chosen One. Starkiller, on the other hand, was the epitome of Luke Skywalker's full potential had he been trained by Darth Vader. His ability to stop a Star Destroyer, his ability to send a shockwave outward from his body and incinerate all those around him, his immense speed and precision were all feats of the Force that burnt Anakin could have never done. In the game The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2, he fights Vader and wins. It wasn't an easy battle, but it definitely ended in his favor, so we know what would have happened had he found Vader, but this video is about Anakin at his full potential fighting Starkiller. Anakin at his true potential would have killed Starkiller, no doubt in my mind. However, we've never seen Anakin at his full potential, so we must focus on him right before he lost to Obi-Wan. Anakin in Revenge of the Sith against Starkiller would lose. Starkiller was just too ferocious, too fast, and too powerful in the Force at this point in his life. Now again, full potential Anakin would win, but this is right when he just turned to the dark side and he didn't get enough time to really own his new fighting skills and powers. Now this doesn't mean Anakin is out for the count. there's a different scenario. What if Anakin in Revenge of the Sith versus Starkiller, but protecting Padme? This would be a completely different story. See, when Anakin has emotions mixed into his fighting, he is a very different fighter. Almost like the Hulk, the angrier you make him, the more powerful he becomes, the more he taps into that rage. For example, in episode 2 when his mother died, in the novel, he was going berserk. He used the Force speed, he crushed sand people with the Force, and he threw boulders over them. He sliced and diced at immense speeds while he was running through the village. So I believe if Starkiller for whatever reason had Padme captured with the intent to kill or even hurt her, Anakin would tap into his 20,000 or so metachlorians and unleash godlike powers we've never seen before. Starkiller wouldn't die easy, but I do believe Anakin would take the win. So Vader versus Starkiller, Starkiller wins. Full potential Anakin versus Starkiller, Anakin wins. Anakin Revenge of the Sith versus Starkiller, it would have to depend on the situation. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Star Wars Lore. My name is Joe Huber, and may the Force be with you.
Hello and welcome back to Nick's PSA Reviews. I'm Nicholas Givens, and this week we will be diving into some of the Ad Council's drunk driving PSAs, which partially explains why this portion looks like an old home video, as the first one shows a home video of someone named Carol Lee Ledford.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put handcuffs on you, okay? For your protection and mine, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to put it in front of you so it will be comfortable, okay?
All right. Whatever you want to do.
Okay. All right. Is that too tight?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
This one is a gut-wrencher. This is due to the fact that we are shown actual footage of actual drunk driving victims in better days, and this one is no exception. Although the quote-unquote home video is actually footage of a police arrest, which is, in a tear-jerkingly ironic way, for drunk driving, the fact that she was either 21 or 19, depending on the source, when she was killed in an off-duty DUI accident is what makes this worse, as she had a lot of life ahead of her when she was killed. The scare factor for this one is a 3 out of 10. This one is mostly depressing, as the officer in the video was a real person, and the fact that she died young makes this worse, as she had a lot to look forward to that got tragically cut short. The next one is a bit more on the recent side and is more lighthearted. Also from the Ad Council, here's one of the warning sign spots.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Okay, this one is just plain hilarious. The use of personification here is excellent, because these are things that people try to do after they've been drinking so they can make themselves okay to drive. The message here is that if you have to make yourself okay to drive, you should not do so and instead consult either an Uber or a friend of yours to prevent an accident. I like this message a little better than the previous message, as buzz driving is a thing. Even though you are not drunk, it still does not mean that it is okay to drive if you're buzzed as opposed to drunk, if that makes sense. The scare factor is a big fat 0. This ad pokes fun at the techniques people who think they can drive after a few drinks use, and it is done well because these are actual warning signs that someone probably should not be driving after a night out at the bar, like needing a breeze or a sip of water, for instance. Those things are not going to do you any good if you go out. I agree with the message. If you've had more than enough to drink, then you probably shouldn't drive, as you could get in some big legal trouble for that. I'm Nicholas Givens, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
KZLX is a student-run radio station where Northwest students have complete freedom during their shifts. KZLX also hosts many radio shows such as Nerdmageddon, Revive, Day-to-Day Picks, and more. To learn more, visit kzlxfm.com.
Hey, you.
Me? What?
Can you cook?
I think.
Can you break a world record?
I bet I could try.
Can you take on the wildest, most viral trends?
I think so. On KNWT, we take on the challenges and trends you're dying to try out. Whether it's physical,
Mental,
or just downright crazy. Think you have what it takes? Tune in Thursdays at noon to find out. Can you?
What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Slashback, where I break down slasher icons' backstories, what makes them significant in the genre, and what makes them unique from the rest. I'm your host, Wiley Goff, and on today's episode, I'll be breaking down Chucky. Let's get right to it. Chucky's backstory starts as Charles Lee Ray, who was once a notorious serial killer known as the Lakeshore Strangler in Chicago. He was ruthless, cunning, and able to evade capture for years, but his reign of terror ended when he was fatally shot by Detective Mike North. Desperate to escape death, Charles used a voodoo ritual he learned in his twisted pursuit of immortality. In his final moments, he transferred his soul into a good guy's doll in a nearby toy store. That wraps up his backstory. Now, what makes him significant is his concept. Chucky's concept of a killer doll took something traditionally seen as harmless and child-friendly and turned it into a horrifying entity. Dolls are often associated with innocence and childhood, but Chucky subverts this expectation by embodying a brutal, sadistic killer. This twist on an otherwise childlike object is a unique element to the slasher genre and helps solidify his place as an iconic villain. Another thing that makes him so significant is his dark humor and personality. Unlike many other slasher villains who are largely cold and emotionless, like Jason or Michael Myers, Chucky's character is infused with a twisted sense of humor, sarcasm, and personality. This mix of horror and dark comedy made him stand out and gave the Child's Play series a distinct edge. His banter and taunting make him a more engaging and memorable villain with a personality that sets him apart from other killers in the genre.
Shouldn't tell your customers where you hide things like this, John. Gets you in trouble every time.
That's what makes him significant. Now, what makes him so unique is his longevity and adaptability. Chucky has maintained relevance since the 1980s, outlasting many of his slasher companions. Chucky himself has successfully adapted to changing trends in horror, evolving from straightforward slasher films to more comedic and self-aware entries. And now he also has a successful TV series. Another thing that makes him so unique is his cultural impact. Chucky has become a recognizable slasher icon, with his appearance and catchphrases entering popular culture. The franchise's longevity and adaptability have also solidified Chucky's place as one of the most enduring and fascinating slasher villains in horror history by consistently reinventing itself while respecting its roots. The Chucky franchise has demonstrated remarkable staying power in the ever-changing landscape of horror cinema. Lastly, what makes Chucky so unique is he is the only slasher to get married. After getting cut into pieces, an ex-girlfriend of Charles Lee Ray, who was the serial killer who put his soul into the Chucky doll, is able to resurrect him, where he ultimately will marry her. That'll do it for this week's episode of Slashback. Tune in next week where I'll be talking about Jigsaw. I've been Wiley Goff, and thank you for watching Slashback.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The 3 Count. I'm Wiley, and today we're going to be breaking down a rivalry that defined a generation of WWE. John Cena versus Randy Orton, two of the biggest names of the modern era, locked in on an intense, years-long feud that shaped the company's main event scene. Let's break it down. It all started in the early 2000s. Cena and Orton both arrived in the WWE around the same time, a part of the legendary Ohio Valley wrestling class that also included Batista and Brock Lesnar. While Cena was winning over fans with his rapper persona, Orton was cementing himself as the legend killer, taking down icons left and right. Their paths crossed, but their real war didn't explode until 2007. SummerSlam 2007. Cena versus Orton for the WWE Championship. It was the beginning of what would be. And let's talk about 2009, a year where Cena and Orton couldn't seem to get away from each other. They traded the WWE Championships back and forth, meeting in matches ranging from Hell in a Cell. One thing that set this rivalry apart was the contrast in their styles. Cena was the ultimate never-give-up hero, and Orton was the cold, calculated villain who could strike at any moment. And their history kept the feud alive for over a decade. Even when they went their separate ways, they always found their way back to each other. So what's your take? Was Cena versus Orton an all-time classic or an overplayed rivalry? Comment down below what you think. Until next time, don't forget to kick out of the 3 count.
Okay guys, sorry to say this to everyone, but the show is now over. Aw, I know. But if you want to see more, then check us out on KNWT TV. Also, don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe to be an avid supporter. As well as knocking out that bell notification, leave a comment down below about what your favorite pack was, so we know what you've enjoyed. I've been your host, Noah Ferguson, and this has been Nerd Central. Stay nerdy.